The pearlescent hull of the UPS Concorde slid into docking position with a grace that made the United Nations Orbital Peace Station Harmony look like a battered old cargo hauler by comparison. Its smooth surface shimmered with the intricate glyphs of 1,000 pacifist civilizations, each symbol pulsing gently in the station's exterior lights. Inside Harmony's transparent observation dome, Ambassador Elias Carter watched the approach with a smirk. His hands, scarred from decades of service before he'd taken up diplomacy, rested loosely at his sides. The grizzled ex-Marine had seen enough alien posturing in his time to recognize this for what it was. A show. They really do love their theatrics, don't they? Muttered Lieutenant Cho beside him, adjusting her dress uniform. Carter didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the docking umbilical as it extended, the perfect symmetry of its movement betraying the Zurian obsession with precision. The airlock hissed open, and out stepped High Mediator Veln, his silver skin catching the light of earth below, like polished metal. The Zurian was tall, nearly 7 feet, his elongated limbs moving with an eerie, fluid grace. Glowing sigils pulsed along his arms and forehead, diplomatic rank markers. Carter knew the Federation loved its hierarchy almost as much as its pacifism. Ambassador Carter, Veln intoned, his voice carrying the musical lilt of his species. The Universal Peace Corps greets you in the spirit of harmony. Carter offered a dry chuckle. Welcome to Earth, Mediator, or what is left of it. He gestured to the planet below, where the flicker of conflict zones still dotted the continents like embers. Veln followed his gaze, the sigils on his brow dimming slightly. This is precisely why we have come. The Federation Council can no longer ignore the violence of your species. We bring the gift of enforced peace. A murmur rippled through the human delegation. Carter didn't react. He'd expected this. The Zurians had been pushing for intervention for years, ever since humanity's third orbital skirmish had spilled debris into a neutral trade lane. Enforced peace, Carter repeated, rolling the words in his mouth like a bad wine. That is a fancy way of saying occupation. Veln's sigils flared blue irritation. We do not occupy, we mediate. We guide. The Federation has brought lasting stability to 17 warring civilizations. Yours will be no different. Carter exhaled slowly, then reached into the inner pocket of his jacket. The movement made 2 of Veln's attendants tense. Humans were still unpredictable to them. But all Carter produced was a slim, unassuming folder. Before you start drafting your edicts, he said, sliding it across the table, you might want to read this. Veln's delicate fingers opened the folder. His glowing eyes scanned the first page, then flicked up. This is a military doctrine. Terran military doctrine, Carter corrected. Specifically, our rules of engagement when dealing with enforced peacekeepers. The Zurian's sigils pulsed faster now, shifting from blue to a faint orange confusion alarm. He flipped through the pages, each one detailing scenarios, countermeasures, escalation protocols. You would resist? Veln asked, the musical lilt gone from his voice. Carter leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. We don't like being told what to do, Mediator, especially not by people who've never had to fight for anything. One of Veln's attendants, a smaller Zurian with fewer sigils, whispered something in their native tongue. Veln silenced him with a raised hand. This is arrogance, Veln said at last. You believe your primitive wars make you superior? Carter smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. No, we just know something you don't. And what is that? That piece isn't a gift. Carter tapped the folder. It is a negotiation, and we've been negotiating with violence since before your species discovered fire. The observation dome fell silent. Below them, Earth turned, its scars and beauty laid bare. Veln closed the folder. The sigils on his skin had settled into an uneasy yellow. We will review your doctrine. Carter nodded. Good. And when you're done. He reached into his pocket again and produced a small glossy pamphlet. We've got recruitment offices on every continent. The pamphlet's bold letters read, See the Galaxy, terms and conditions apply. Veln took it as if it might bite him. Cho coughed into her hand, hiding a grin. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. The game had begun. The elevator descended 37 levels below the Nevada desert, its humming the only sound in the cramped space. Observer Crix adjusted his 4 recording tendrils, their tips glowing faintly as they documented everything. The air smelled of ozone and something metallic, human things. His upper left hand clutched a data tablet showing the Universal Peace Corps Charter. The other 3 fidgeted with his ceremonial sash. General Naomi Graves stood motionless beside him, her cybernetic eye whirring softly as it adjusted to the dim lighting. The scar across her cheek pulled slightly when she smirked. First time underground? Crix's vocal sac inflated in what humans might call nervous laughter. The Zurian delegation prefers open spaces, meditative gardens, flowing water. The elevator doors slid open to reveal a cavernous briefing room. Holographic projectors lined the walls, their emitters humming with dormant energy. A long table dominated the center, its surface scarred from decades of use. Coffee stains marked where cups had been set down too hard. Graves strode forward, her boots echoing. "Welcome to the real United Nations." Crix hesitated at the threshold. "This is not what I expected. You were expecting more talking, less doing." Graves tapped a control panel. The holograms flickered to life, bathing the room in blue light. "Let's fix that." Images erupted around them, grainy black, and white footage of trenches stretching to the horizon. Explosions bloomed like poisonous flowers. Human figures charged through mud and barbed wire, their faces contorted in something between rage and terror. Crix's recording tendrils spasmed. What am I seeing? World War I, the Somme. Graves didn't blink as a shell detonated, swallowing a dozen men in fire. First day, 60,000 casualties, not deaths, casualties. The scene shifted. Burning ships littered an ocean at night. Flares illuminated the water, revealing dark shapes struggling amidst the wreckage. Midway, naval warfare before we had orbital superiority. Another shift, a city in ruins, skeletal buildings jutting from the rubble. A child's shoe lay abandoned in the street. Stalingrad, urban warfare at its finest. Crix's primary heart was beating too fast. His species had no concept of war. Not like this. The Zurian Compact had settled disputes with poetry contests for the last 8,000 years. "Why are you showing me this?" Graves folded her arms. "Because your people came to teach us peace, but you don't understand what you're dealing with." The holograms changed again. Orbital drop pods streaked through an atmosphere like falling stars. Marines in powered armor hit the ground at terminal velocity, their impact craters overlapping. New Mombasa, first extraterrestrial combat deployment. Crix's tendrils recoiled. "This is barbaric." "No." Graves tapped the console. The images froze. "This is practice." A new recording played, cleaner, sharper. A human fleet engaged an unknown alien armada near Pluto. Railgun rounds punched through hulls at relativistic speeds. Plasma lances carved ships in half. Crix recognized the design of the attackers. "The Vorak incursion. Your records claim that was a peaceful resolution." Graves smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Peaceful for us." The hologram zoomed in on a single human warship, its prow bristling with weapons. A salvo of missiles streaked toward a Vorak dreadnought. The explosion lit up the screen. "You see, observer, we don't like war." Graves leaned closer. "But we're gods, damned artists at it." Crix's data tablet slipped from his grip. It clattered on the floor, the Peace Corps emblem cracking. "You enjoy this." Graves picked up the tablet. She examined the fracture, then handed it back. "No, we're just really good at it." The holograms shifted once more. A tactical display of the Sol system appeared, dotted with defense platforms and shipyards. Graves traced a finger through the air, highlighting kill zones and fallback positions. "This is what real peace looks like." Her finger stopped at Mars. Mutually assured destruction only works if your enemy believes you'll pull the trigger. Crix's tendrils had stopped recording. They hung limp at his sides. Your entire civilization is built on threats. Built on survival. Graves powered down the displays. The room plunged into near darkness, illuminated only by emergency exit signs. You came to stop our wars, but war made us, forged us, taught us how to reach the stars. She walked to the elevator, then paused. You want to understand humanity? Don't study our peace treaties. Study our battlefields. The doors slid open. Graves stepped inside, leaving Crix alone in the dark with the ghosts of 100 million dead. His recording tendrils twitched back to life. They hovered over the cracked tablet, hesitating. Then, with deliberate care, he deleted the Universal Peace Corps files and began drafting a new document. Subject, revised threat assessment. Terran strategic capabilities outside. In the desert above, a missile silo opened its doors for a routine test. No one told Crix. He wouldn't have believed them anyway. The Martian dust swirled in crimson eddies as the Universal Peace Corps shuttle touched down. Captain Marcus Reaper Cole adjusted his power armor's visor, watching the alien delegation disembark with barely concealed amusement. Their pristine silver and white uniforms looked absurd against the rust-colored wasteland. Mediator, in training Liss, stumbled on the uneven terrain, her fern-like appendages fluttering nervously. Cole reached out to steady her before she face-planted into the regolith. "Watch your step, ma'am. Mars doesn't forgive mistakes." Liss's bioluminescent nodes pulsed pink with embarrassment. "Your gravity is stronger than anticipated." Cole chuckled, the sound metallic through his helmet speakers. "Wait till you see what we've got planned for today." The demonstration field stretched before them, a mock cityscape of crumbling concrete and twisted metal. Human Marines moved through the ruins like ghosts, their black armor absorbing the weak sunlight. "Urban pacification drill," Cole explained, leading Liss to the observation bunker. "Standard procedure for hostile settlements." Liss's recording tendrils twitched. "Pacification, your dossier mentioned non-lethal solutions." Cole's helmet tilted slightly. "Oh, we've got non-lethal." He gestured to a squad priming canister launchers. "Sonic disruptors, neural inhibitors, good old-fashioned tear gas." The first explosions rocked the fake city. Buildings collapsed in controlled demolitions as flame units painted the sky orange. A squad of power, armored Marines breached a reinforced bunker with magnetic charges. Liss's nodes flashed crimson. "This is excessive." Cole tapped his wrist display, Phase 2. From orbit, a streak of fire descended. The kinetic rod struck precisely on target, obliterating a mock command center in a silent explosion of dust and debris. You have orbital weapons for peacekeeping." Liss's voice trembled. Cole shrugged. "Sometimes you need to make a statement." He scrolled through his datapad. "Next, we've got drone swarms, microwave arrays, and if things really go sideways..." He tapped an icon labeled Geneva Checklist. Liss's fronds wilted. What could possibly require such thorough measures? Cole's visor polarized as another explosion lit up the wasteland. "You'd be surprised. Last month we had a separatist group hiding in an asteroid belt. Took 3 days to flush them out." 3 days? Yeah. Cole sounded almost apologetic. Had to wait for the railgun platforms to cycle. Liss's recording tendrils went limp. Her bioluminescence dimmed to a sickly yellow coal, barely caught her as her knees buckled. "Oh, there." He lowered her gently onto a supply crate. First time seeing proper military hardware. Liss's voice came out in a whisper. "We came to teach you peace." Cole laughed, removing his helmet to reveal a scarred face and surprisingly kind eyes. "And we appreciate the thought." "But peace," he gestured at the Marines regrouping in the dust. "This is how we keep it." A medic brought Liss a water pouch. She sipped slowly, her fronds regaining some color. "You really believe violence solves everything?" Cole considered this while watching a squad demonstrate close-quarters breaching tactics. Not everything. But when words fail, he nodded toward a Marine loading grenades into an underslung launcher. We've got other vocabularies. The demonstration continued through Martian afternoon. Liz watched in horrified fascination as the Marines showcased their arsenal, from neural scramblers to seismic destabilizers. Each weapon came with a cheerful explanation of its peacekeeping applications. As the sun dipped below the canyon walls, Cole helped Liz back to the shuttle. Her steps were steadier now, though her fronds still trembled occasionally. "You okay?" Cole asked. Liz stared at the fading explosions in the distance. "I think I understand now." Cole raised an eyebrow. "Understand what? Why your wars never stopped?" She turned to face him, her bioluminescence pulsing a strange new pattern. "You didn't just survive them, you perfected them." Cole grinned, slapping dust off his armor. "Damn right. And you know what?" He leaned closer. "We're happy to share." The shuttle engines whined to life. Liz paused at the ramp, her tendrils twitching thoughtfully. "Captain Cole? Yeah, your Geneva checklist." Cole's grin turned wolfish. "Classified. But let's just say it is why we don't lose." As the shuttle lifted off, Cole watched it shrink into the pink sky. His comm crackled. "Reaper, you break another alien?" He keyed his mic. "Nah." Just gave her something to think about. Below him, the Marines were already prepping for night exercises. Flares lit up the Martian desert like a second dawn. Somewhere in orbit, the railgun platforms hummed with pent-up energy. Cole stretched, feeling the familiar weight of his armor. The Peace Corps wanted to teach humanity about non-violence. Humanity would teach them about victory. The Zurian flagship Serenity's light hung in orbit around Jupiter, like a silver leaf caught in the gas giant's amber glow. Its smooth, organic curve stood in stark contrast to the blocky human stations nearby. Inside the vessel's central archive, Dr. Rachel Wu waited patiently as Archivist Prime Zix adjusted his neural interface. The ancient historian's tentacles moved with deliberate precision, activating holographic displays that flickered to life around them. "You requested access to our historical records," Wu said, sipping from a cup of jasmine tea. The scent mingled oddly with the Zurian ship's sterile, floral atmosphere. "I assume the Peace Corps wants to understand why we're so resistant to their methods." Zix's bulbous eyes pulsed with faint bioluminescence as he scrolled through the data streams. "Resistant is an understatement, Dr. Wu. Your species refuses pacification protocols that have worked on 17 other civilizations." A tendril tapped a display, pulling up footage of Verdun. "This is what confounds us." Wu watched as the black and white images unfolded, soldiers charging through mud, artillery flashing in the distance. "Ah, the Great War, not our finest hour, but an important one." Zix shuddered, his frills flattening against his neck. "You slaughtered each other by the millions over trenches." "We did." She leaned forward, tapping another file. "But watch this one." The screen shifted to grainy footage of a rocket launch, V-phase arcing into the sky, then cutting to a different scene decades later, Apollo Faye lifting off. Zix's tendrils twitched. "You're showing me weapons, leading to spaceflight." Wu smiled. "Every major leap in human technology came from war, penicillin, World War II, nuclear power, Hiroshima, the internet, Cold War paranoia." She swiped again, pulling up the Siege of Luna, the first orbital battle. "Even when we left Earth, we brought our conflicts with us." The Archivist Prime recoiled as the footage played. Human Marines in early exosuits breaching lunar bunkers, railgun rounds punching through domes in silent vacuum. "This is insanity. Your species treats war like an art form." Wu chuckled. "That is one way to put it, but here is the thing. We learn from it. Every battle, every massacre, every stupid, bloody mistake made us stronger, faster, smarter." She tapped her temple. "You Zurians evolved in a stable ecosystem. Predators, prey. Balance, we didn't. Our world tried to kill us every day, so we killed each other instead, until we got good enough to kill anything else that threatened us. Zix's frills trembled. He pulled up another file. This one, a psychological profile of human soldiers. Your neural scans. They show adaptation under fire. Not just resilience, evolution. Wu nodded. Fight or die, that is the oldest rule in our book. And after a few million years of it, we got very good at fighting. She leaned back, swirling her tea. Your Peace Corps means well, but you're trying to put a lid on something that built us. The Archivist Prime stared at the screens, centuries of human conflict flashing by. Stalingrad, Normandy, the orbital drop on Ceres. His voice was barely a whisper. You didn't just survive war. You weaponized evolution itself. Wu raised her cup in a mock toast. Now you're getting it. Outside, Jupiter's storms raged in eternal silence. Inside the archive, Zix slowly closed the files, his tendrils shaking. For the first time in his long life, the Zurian historian felt something unfamiliar, not of humanity's violence, of what they could do with it. The Lunar Recruitment Center buzzed with activity, its neon signs flickering against the black vacuum outside the reinforced viewports. Former Peace Corps members shuffled in lines that snaked between holographic recruitment booths. Their once pristine silver uniforms, now mixed with Terran military fatigues. The air smelled of ozone and cheap coffee. Sergeant Major Diaz leaned against the welcome desk, his prosthetic arm clicking as he adjusted the holographic display. The words Galactic Stabilization Force pulsed above him in bold crimson letters. He watched as another group of wide-eyed Zurians and Zenthians approached, their expressions caught between awe and terror. You lost silver skin. Diaz called out as High Mediator Veln stepped through the sliding doors. The Zurian diplomat moved hesitantly. His glowing sigils dimmed in confusion. His eyes darted between the recruitment posters. See the galaxy, terms and conditions apply, and the humans handing out pamphlets with grinning intensity. Veln straightened. I came to understand. His voice carried the practiced calm of a mediator, but his fingers twitched. Your people have subverted our mission. Diaz barked a laugh. Subverted? Nah. Upgraded. He pushed off the desk, his boots thudding against the lunacrete floor. You wanted peace, we're giving it to you, just not the way you expected. A Talarian scribe, one of Crick's former assistants, nervously tapped a datapad. But the Federation Council thought we'd roll over. Diaz finished. He grabbed a pamphlet from the stack and slapped it into Veln's hands. The glossy cover showed a Terran Marine in full combat armor standing atop a smoldering pirate stronghold. The caption read, Make a difference. Veln's silver skin rippled. This is not what we intended. Funny how that works. Diaz grinned, the scar across his cheek pulling tight. You came to stop wars, we're offering you the chance to win them. A murmur ran through the crowd. A Zenthian, Lys' former colleague, stepped forward, her fern-like fronds quivering. You're asking us to become soldiers. Nah, Diaz said. We're asking you to become peacekeepers, real ones. He tapped the pamphlet. See that? That's the Outer Rim. Pirates been raiding Federation convoys for decades. Your people sent petitions. We sent railguns. Guess which one worked? Veln's fingers tightened around the pamphlet. The glowing sigils on his skin flickered, then brightened, not with diplomatic resolve, but something sharper. Hunger. Diaz saw it. He leaned in. You felt it, didn't you? On Mars, on Jupiter, that pull, that fire, you didn't come here to stop us. You came to understand. The Zurian exhaled. Your way, it works. Damn right, it does. Diaz grabbed a cap from the desk, black, with Terran veterans stitched in gold, and tossed it to Veln. Welcome to the real universal peacekeepers. Veln hesitated. Then, slowly, he placed the cap on his head. The crowd erupted. A human recruiter clapped him on the back. First lesson, never call it a war. Call it aggressive negotiations. Laughter filled the room outside. The stars burned cold and bright, and the line for enlistment grew longer. The pirate stronghold on Kethra Prime burned. Admiral Yusuf Khan watched from the bridge of the Titan's Fist as orbital bombardment turned the last pirate fortress into molten slag. The Zurian ships in his fleet, once pristine vessels of peace, now fired alongside human cruisers, their weapons synchronized in perfect brutal harmony. Target eliminated, reported Lieutenant Cho. No survivors? Khan nodded. Good, send in the Marines to confirm. On the main display, a squad of power, armored humans descended through the smoke, their rifles sweeping the ruins. Among them, a single Zenthian moved with surprising confidence. Liss, the former mediator, in training now clad in Terran combat armor. Her fern, like appendages, had been reinforced with neural, linked servo struts, and her once delicate voice now carried the crisp tone of a seasoned soldier. Zone clear, Liss reported over the comms. No hostiles, just wreckage. Khan smirked. Told you we'd make a soldier out of you. Liss didn't respond immediately. She was staring at the blackened remains of what had once been a pirate command center. The walls were still warm, the air thick with the scent of ionized metal and charred flesh. You okay? Asked Sergeant Harlow, nudging her with the barrel of his rifle. Liss exhaled. I just never thought I'd be on this side of things. Harlow chuckled. Welcome to the winning team. Back on the Titan's Fist, Khan turned to his tactical officer. Status on the rest of the system? Pirate fleet in Sector 7 is scattering, the officer replied. They're trying to jump to hyperspace. Khan leaned forward. Intercept them. I want them to understand there is no running from this. The human-Zurian hybrid fleet moved like a single organism, cutting off escape vectors with ruthless precision. Railgun batteries locked on, and within seconds, the void lit up with the silent flashes of dying ships. One pirate vessel, smaller and faster than the rest, managed to slip through the net. It veered toward the edge of the system, engines flaring. Let them go, said Liss suddenly over the comms. Khan raised an eyebrow. Why? Because they'll tell others what happened here, she said. Let them spread the word. A slow grin spread across Khan's face. Psychological warfare. I like it. He nodded to his comms officer. Open a channel. The pirate ship's bridge appeared on the screen, ragged, desperate faces staring back at him. You're being allowed to leave, Khan said, his voice calm. But understand this. The next time we meet, you won't get a warning. Surrender now, or don't bother surrendering at all. The pirate captain, a scarred Voroth with bloodshot eyes, hesitated. Then, with a snarl, he cut the transmission. The ship vanished into hyperspace. Liss' voice crackled over the comms again. They'll talk. They'll tell everyone what we did here. Khan leaned back in his chair. Good, let them. Below, the Marines finished their sweep. The planet was secure. The pirates who hadn't fled were dead. Mission accomplished, said Lieutenant Cho. Khan nodded. Send a message back to Earth. Tell them Kethra is pacified. As the fleet regrouped, Liss returned to the Titan's Fist, her armor scorched but her posture straight. She stepped onto the bridge, removing her helmet. Her fern, like fronds, had been tied back in a practical knot, and her eyes, once wide with pacifist idealism, now gleamed with something harder. Khan looked at her. Regrets? Liss shook her head. No, this is better. He chuckled. Better than what? Better than standing by while others suffered, she said. Better than pretending peace could exist without strength. Khan clapped her on the shoulder. You're learning. The bridge crew exchanged glances, the Zurian officers. Once hesitant, now stood with the same resolve as their human counterparts. Set course for the next target, Khan ordered. The Titan's Fist turned, its engines flaring as the fleet moved as one. Behind them, Kethra burned, a warning to any who would defy the new order. Liz watched the planet shrink on the view screen. They surrendered, she murmured. Khan smirked. After the first railgun salvo, she glanced at him. Is that how it always is? Usually, he admitted. Sometimes it takes two. Liz exhaled, shaking her head. You humans. You really do specialize in peace, don't you? Khan's grin was all teeth. Told you. The chamber of the Galactic Senate had never seen such chaos. Ambassador Elias Carter, now wearing the insignia of a Terran general, stood at the central podium, his boots planted firmly on the ancient Zurian marble. Around him, representatives from 100 species shouted, their translator implants struggling to keep up with the overlapping protests. The air smelled of ozone from overloaded holographic projectors and the faint, acrid tang of alien sweat. Carter waited. He had learned patience in the trenches of New Damascus, where silence between artillery barrages meant either death or opportunity. Finally, he tapped the control pad before him. The Senate's main display lit up with a single, rotating emblem, Earth sword, and olive branch insignia now stamped across half the galaxy. Members of the Federation, Carter said, his voice cutting through the noise like a knife. You called us barbarians, warmongers, children playing with guns. He gestured to the projection, which zoomed out to show star systems, dozens of them, each marked with the same symbol. Now look what your barbarians have done. High Mediator Veln. Once the Federation's most ardent pacifist stood from the Zurian delegation. His silver skin gleamed under the chamber lights, but the Terran veteran cap perched atop his cranial ridges drew more stares. The Kethra system is free, Veln announced, his voice steady. The pirates who terrorized it for decades surrendered within hours of the Terran fleet's arrival. A Talarian scribe, one of Crick's former assistants, squeaked. They leveled 3 asteroid bases. Carter smiled. Correction, we precision. Leveled 3 asteroid bases. The civilian habitats weren't even scratched. He tapped the pad again. The projection shifted to show before, and after footage, smoldering pirate fortifications, then thriving trade hubs. Funny thing about peace, sometimes you have to enforce it. Archivist Prime Zix's tentacles writhed as he rose, his ancient voice trembling. You've turned our Peace Corps into soldiers. Wrong. Carter's grin widened. We upgraded them. The projection changed again, this time to a recruitment tally. Millions of names scrolled past, former mediators, observers, even Zurian pacifists. Meet the Galactic Stabilization Force, enrollments up 800% since last quarter. The chamber erupted. A Ceralian delegate's floating orbs turned crimson with outrage. This is an outrage. You can't just save it. Carter's voice dropped to a growl. You sent mediators to stop our wars. We showed them what real peace looks like. He nodded to the side entrance, where a line of figures marched in, former Peace Corps members, now clad in Terran combat armor. At their head stood Liz, her fern, like appendages now reinforced with carbon fiber sheaths. She saluted, fist to chest. Reporting as ordered, General, Liz said. Her voice no longer wavered. The Rimwood colonies request stabilization. Their words, send the humans. Laughter burst from the Terran delegation. Admiral Yusuf Khan, leaning against the railing of the observation gallery, called down. Told you they'd come around. Zix's tentacles sagged. You've weaponized diplomacy. Carter shrugged. Weaponized? No, optimized. He tapped the pad one last time. The projection zoomed out further, showing the entire Milky Way. Blue markers bloomed across the spiral arms. Human-aligned systems, former conflict zones, now quiet. You wanted peace. Carter spread his hands. We brought it. Silence. Then, from the back of the chamber, a single pair of hands began to clap Veln. Soon others joined Talarians, Zenthians, even a grizzled Octavian admiral. The sound built like thunder. Carter didn't wait for the vote. He turned, his coat swirling. and walked out. Behind him, the Senate's chaos faded into something new. Order, human order. In the corridor outside, Diaz leaned against the wall, prosthetic arm whirring, as he tossed a recruitment pamphlet in the air. Think they'll last a week before begging for more Marines. Carter took the pamphlet. On its cover, Earth's emblem gleamed above bold letters, peace through superior firepower. Give M 3 days.